think of.
Boya Chaka! Hey!
PartyGammon.com. Everyone's playing.
The Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas is hosting the first ever PartyGammon.com Million. The Backgammon fraternity has never seen an event like this before. The best players from around the world have been whittled down to 2, and they go head-to-head for a seat in the Backgammon Hall of Fame. Our trip to Bahamas is nearly at its end. In just a few short hours, our 2 finalists will be racking and rolling at the table as they battle it out for the first prize of $600,000.
It's Danish internet qualifier Lasse Madsen and German superstar Andreas Martin who will be fighting it out for the trophy. It's going to be an exciting match.
But first, throughout this series, we've taught you the basics to help you play backgammon at home. Our expert is back to remind you of what's been covered and the lessons that have been taught.
Hello, my name is Julian Wilson. Wow, here we are at the final of the world's first $1 million backgammon tournament. To help you follow the commentary in what promises to be an exciting final, we're going to summarize the lessons from each of the first 4 tutorials.
In the beginning, we looked at setting the board up, the rules, the etiquette, and that initial fight for the key points of the 5 and the 7 point. We then looked at avoiding the common mistakes. Leave some flexibility in your position. Don't run when you're behind in the race. In the third program, we introduce you to the numbers, the ways of measuring risk in a given position, and the cube and its effect on the scoring. In the fourth program, we taught you how to be more lucky more often. The principles of duplication and diversification.
Certainly as a beginner, it's one of the very first things you want to learn. You want to learn how to play the opening rolls because they come up every game. So basically you've got a position that you've memorized. You have the opening position with 5 checkers here, 5 checkers here, 3 here and 2 there. And you know that when you roll a 3-1 in that position, which comes up a lot, you're going to make your 5 point. If you don't know that that's the right play, then you're going to be beat a lot. So learning the opening moves is probably the most important place to start.
The most common mistake is being a chicken. The beginner is so afraid to open blad, to leave one checker open. And you're just so scared that you just want to make it home quickly, safely, and it doesn't work. Unfortunately, you will open in the end, you will, give it a chance. So the mistake is that people concentrate on actually going home safely, which is a very wrong thing because you have to build a house, you have to control so many other things.
A little knowledge is a dangerous thing. You know a little bit, then you begin to recognize when your position is worse than your opponent's. But the point is that just because your opponent is worse doesn't mean you should pass the cube. If you take the cube, you have a chance to win the point that you would have lost, plus another point. And so the odds are about 3-1. If you have one chance in 4 of winning that game, then you can take the cube. And most people don't think that way. They just think, am I more likely to win than I am to lose? But you have to think, do I have one chance in 4?
If you're on roll, you'd like to have a lot of good numbers playing for you. That's diversification. I mean, if you can close a guy with, 4s and 5s, and but then you turn it around when the other guy's on roll. You don't want him to have 4s and 5s. You want him to have 5s here and 5s over here. That's duplication. Minimize shots, basically.
So that ends our tutorials. I hope the lessons learned are going to help you to follow the commentary in this, the first $1 million backgammon tournament. I also hope we've taught you enough to help improve your game and help you to be more lucky more often.
Giants of backgammon don't come any bigger than the man I'm sitting here with now. Knack Ballard has been at the top for over 20 years, and he's still at top of his game. Now, Knack, tell me what you love about backgammon.
I like the tactile feel of the pieces, the dice. It's a very aesthetic game. It combines numbers and positional aspects of the game that no other game that I've played has. It has them in perfect balance, in a sense. I used to be a tournament Scrabble player and tournament Go player. None of them really approach backgammon in terms of a combination of luck and skill that allow everyone to really enjoy it when they play. You know, it's human nature to be conservative. I remember back in the 1970s and 1980s, you know, you looked at the match scores and it was 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, all one-pointers.
Right.
And they would go on that for 17 points. You'd have very few two games. And that's because people would double very late. They were afraid that to give their opponent the cube, and they would pass everything, which of course isn't even consistent, because if someone's going to pass everything, you should double them early, right?
I've seen you described as the father of aggressive backgammon. Would you agree with that?
I made two fantasy characters. One of them was Ronald Runner, and the other was Donald Danger. And Ronald Runner would play all the safe plays. He would just run and stack his checkers, and Donald Danger would make all the aggressive plays that were fairly common back in the 70s. And I logged all the plays, and at the end, Ronald Runner came out ahead. So the idea was to play very conservative checker play and aggressive cube play. And it took a long time for a lot of people to figure that out until the computers came along.
Right.
Then they were able to, you know, people learn so much faster now.
Is it a mistake to call backgammon purely mathematical?
Certainly there is a lot of math involved, but there is a positional aspect in playing the game. And backgammon is very much a visual game. So there are people that know very little math that can play backgammon very well.
There's a lot of young Germans and Scandinavians coming into the game. Are they worth keeping an eye on? Are there any that you have your eye on?
Oh yeah, I mean, they definitely have their eye on me. They're out to get me, and just because I've been fortunate, and they want the success that I've been fortunate enough to have recently, but they'll get there, and you know, I'm going to have to work like a dog to stay ahead of them.
On our feature table, it was Dane Lasse Madsen, a part-time player and an internet entrant, against the giant of backgammon, Knack Ballard. Madsen raced to an early lead, but Ballard showed his experience and rolled his way back into the match. A big game at 18-15. Had luck on the Dane side, and Lasse Madsen became the giant slayer to be first into the final. What a great story, and one more hurdle for the trophy. On the other side, Andreas Martin taking on Ralph Jonas in an all-German affair. Both very experienced players and both qualified online, but at 19-19 it became do or die. Martin's with the roll to win and the place in the final.
Atlantis, the stunning island bringing life to this ancient city, is usually a relaxing place, but the PartyGammon.com Million Final has arrived, and everyone's feeling the tension. Join us for more action after the break.
Verdammt nochmal!
PartyGammon.com.
We're here in the Bahamas with someone who is called by all accounts the father of modern backgammon, returning to the site of one of his great triumphs. It's Paul McGreal. Now, Paul, why is backgammon a great game?
Oh, why is it a great game? Well, I mean, I love backgammon because it's a combination, it's a beautiful blend of luck and of skill. It's a game that can be enjoyed at many different levels. I mean, you don't have to be like Chesapeake, you don't have to be a great player. You can learn the game quickly, and within an hour or two, you can be playing it, enjoying it, even beating much, much better players because of the luck element. But the skill element is very, very deep, and not so obvious, but very deep. That makes it a serious intellectual game. But it's also a game that's very fast-paced, very exciting, and it's also more of a social game than a lot of games like Chesapeake. You can play, you can talk, you can play in chouettes, you can play in bars.
We're here in the Bahamas where you won the World Championships in 1978. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I won the World Championship. I had a lot of other triumphs. I mean, if I can brag a little bit, I won a lot more, much more than twice as many major titles as anybody else in the world. I won a major Pro-Am here, and I also won the World Championship here, but